Big news coming in from Israel as thousands of protesters rally outside the Knesset, vowing to banish darkness of the new government. 73-year-old Benjamin Netanyahu sets out the agenda for his new government. Israel's next PM unveils his right-wing Likud government's policy priorities, amid heckling, protests and ruckus right outside the Israeli parliament. With this, the government vows to legalize dozens of illegally built outposts and annex the occupied territory as part of its coalition deal with its ultra-national allies. The document released on Wednesday said that the government will advance and develop settlement in quote-unquote parts of Israel. The regions include parts of Galilee, the Negev Desert, the Golan Heights and the West Bank. Note that the Golan Heights and West Bank are disputed territories. The regions were taken over by Israel during the Six-Day War in 1967. The package laid the groundwork for what is expected to be a stormy beginning for Netanyahu's government. It could put them at odds with large parts of the Israeli public and its international allies. US President Joe Biden had earlier voiced opposition to new Israeli construction in the West Bank. The German government also said that the construction of Israeli settlements in the West Bank and in East Jerusalem is increasingly jeopardizing the territorial basis for a future Palestinian state. Spokesperson for the Palestinian president, Mahmoud Abbas, said that there is no prospect for peace, security or stability in the region without a negotiated two-state solution. The Palestinians seek West Bank as the center of their future independent state. Jordan's King Abdullah II has also spoken out against the incoming government's plans. Speaking exclusively to CNN, the king said that there is concern in his country about those in Israel trying to push for changes to his custodianship of the Muslim and Christian holy sites in Israeli-occupied East Jerusalem, further adding that there are certain red lines to not be crossed and that they are prepared for a conflict if it comes to it. Now, in the last few decades, Israel has constructed dozens of Jewish settlements there. At present, some 500,000 Israelis live in such settlements alongside 2.5 million Palestinians. The Likud party document was released a day before the swearing-in of the new Israeli government. Netanyahu's swearing-in ceremony will take place later today and will see Netanyahu's return to the high office, which is highly anticipated at this moment. The new government is considered Israel's most right-wing ever, with Otzima Yehudit party's Ben-Gvir having been declared as Israel's new police minister, and ex-intelligence minister Eli Cohen nominated as the new foreign minister. Several hardline and ultra-orthodox parties are participating. Israel's President Isaac Herzog has expressed his deep concern about the incoming government and its stance on several sensitive issues. For more on this, we are being joined live by correspondent Jody Cohen from Jerusalem. Jody, what's the current situation regarding the swearing-in session at this moment?
Well, we are waiting for a vote on the new Knesset Speaker, Amir Ohana, which is expected to take place very shortly. And within the next few hours, we're expecting the swearing-in ceremony of the new government to wrap up with them taking their oaths of office. Now, whether or not you see this new government as positive or not depends on where you sit on the political spectrum. You just heard my conversation there with outgoing Defense Minister Benny Gantz. I also spoke with Almog Cohen, who's from the Otzma Yehudit, the Nationalist Party, and he's going to be Deputy Minister in the Prime Minister's office in the incoming government. He talked about it as a day of celebration. Let's just review some of the key figures in this new government. Netanyahu announced right before the proceedings began today that Eli Cohen is going to be the new foreign minister. He was previously with the centrist Kulanu party. He's a former intelligence minister and a former economy minister. Ron Dermer is going to be the Minister for Strategic Affairs, which has quite a vague title, but he is definitely somebody to watch out for. He is considered possibly the closest to Netanyahu and will certainly be almost his right-hand man on a number of key priorities. Netanyahu, of course, outlined these priorities when he spoke to the Knesset earlier, one of them being, of course, ensuring that Iran doesn't get nuclear weapons. He was heckled during his talk, with members of the opposition calling him weak and with Lapid suggesting that he's vulnerable to the demands of his coalition partners. Lapid also talked about him having an unquiet heart. We've seen protests outside the Knesset, lots of pride flags being waved. And as I said, we're waiting for Amir Ohana to be officially voted in as Israel's first openly gay Knesset speaker, and Netanyahu made a point of referencing that, welcoming him and his partner to the Knesset this morning, which no doubt will be in response to the disquiet over religious versus LGBTQ rights in Israel. And then we have the swearing-in ceremony this evening. Right. So we're all expected to wrap it all up within the next few hours.
Jody, also, if you could share some insight on how the opposition reacted to the issues of annexation and, if I should say, discriminatory legislation.
So the opposition, of course, that is their job, to oppose the incoming government. They are not happy with the proposed legislation. Interestingly, I spoke to a former Yesh Atid member of the Knesset, Dov Livman, earlier, who expressed to me that he doesn't necessarily think that annexation will happen. Remember that Netanyahu has been repeatedly saying over the last few days, particularly in interviews with the American media, that his priority is to seek potential peace with Saudi Arabia. Obviously, annexation and peace with Saudi Arabia, he won't be able to have both. He's also made a point of saying that all his coalition partners have agreed not to stand in his way if peace with Saudi Arabia becomes a priority. So he didn't believe that that will actually happen in practice. It says in the coalition agreement with religious Zionism that in principle the government agrees to annexation. Whether or not it will happen in practice remains to be seen.
Thank you so much for those updates, Joey.
Thank you.